When you and I get to that place of availability, of teachability, that the Spirit of God can say, go, and you go, you will see great things happen. We have to get to this place where our trust knows no bounds. This week, you can put up the first slide. This week is monumental to me in many, many ways. I have felt like a failure over the past 6 months. And one of the amazing things is, when you get into, you're at war, you're in a trench, you're being shot at, bombs are going off around you, you don't feel successful. And then you go away and you hang out with 65 other people just like you. And you start hearing the stories about how God is working, and you're sharing the stories of how God is working in your life. And all of a sudden, you start comparing and you start realizing, wow, God's really working in my life. Silly me. I had lunch with a couple from South Africa. They have a project called Project Firewall. And their whole ministry is making disciples, training up pastors to go into the bush. You see, in Africa, the Muslims are working overtime that Africa will become the first Muslim continent. But the Christians who are born, bred, and saved there are saying, no, not on our watch. And the cities in Nigeria, and Uganda, and Botswana, and places like that, the cities are starting to see revival. Thousands of people are coming to Christ. So this simple pastor and another pastor friend of his and his wife took on 10 years ago this project, Project Firewall, where they were going to push back against the Muslim entourage. And they said, we are going to equip one pastor at a time to go into the bush and to start a church in every village that they could find. My comment to her was, so how goes it? She goes, we're starting 32 churches a day all across Africa. 30, now mind you, a church, they're meeting in a hut, 10 people, that's a church. Next village, 5 people. They're seeing people saved, they're organizing God's work, and they're training disciples. It's the beginning of my week. Well, not quite. Something else happened before I got there, but it was like, wow, God's moving. And to give you the spectrum of the people that were meeting, there were Bob Jones people to the left of me, there were Dallas Theological Seminary people to the right of me, so there's a full spectrum of faith guys. And we kept seeing continuity. We kept seeing, I'm looking, I was at Winery this week. I spoke to about 60 people. I spoke Friday night at Swarthmore College. I spoke at North Greenville University. And I kept looking, being a next-gen guy, I kept looking at what are energizing young people to faith. What mission opportunities are they wanting to plug into? God, what are you doing? Where are you moving? Go ahead. There are 3 areas. Consistently, God showed me this way. There's the international community, there's Next Gen Ministries, and there's recovery ministry. God is moving in a huge way in all 3 of those areas. Here's the thing. For us to reach Delaware County, Chester, Pennsylvania, the second dangerous city in America, one of the highest heroin rates in our country, where 50% of our population is under 30. The Chinese population in this community, how many were you at the Easter egg hunt this year? 1, 2, 3. Did you notice that of the 150 or so people that were there, half were Asian? Anybody else pay attention to that? Folks, our neighborhood's going to flip. And unless we are proactive in reaching out to people other than us, we'll be irrelevant in 10 years, if not quicker. So we have to focus. And that's the thing God kept showing me this week. Chuck, you must focus on where I'm moving. Focus, 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 focus. Go to the next slide. So, first step of faith, internationals. Thank you. The first area that we can do is to equip you. November 14th, this fall, Saturday from 8:30 to 4, Larry Thyssen will be here and he's going to do an ESL training. He'll be certified by the end of the day. People are coming here. The thing that blew me away at the Easter egg hunt, and I've known this before, the first time a college professor came walking up my door carrying his laptop, he called me, he said, Pastor Chuck, he's Chinese, I'm applying for my dream job, and I want to make sure my grammar's correct on my, he was a professor, okay? And he came to my house and we reviewed his resume so he could submit to a college down south. When we were at the Easter egg hunt, I'm passing out flyers to invite families to church. And guess what was happening? The kids were taking the flyers and then translating it to their parents. We have 70 nations in this neighborhood. We can ferret out by using ESL programs, what are the people groups that we need to be serving and targeting? We could plant 2 more churches in this building. It's good stewardship. It's being responsible Christians. It's equipping us. By the way, we have 2 other churches that are interested in participating in this. International students from Wider are interested in participating in this. And at least 8 of you have said, I want to do this. It's an important thing. Go to the next slide. So what's important? As I said, our neighborhood is in a state of flux. 100% of our events and kids camps, 25 to 45% who attend. Every single time we have done a garden camp, at least a third of the room are Chinese. We're connecting to international students. You know, V was an international student from Sri Lanka who we just sent off a month or so ago. We have the opportunity to plant churches here. Without, we can have a 2 o'clock service, in Chinese. We can have a 6 o'clock service in another language. But if we don't, I'll guarantee you in 5 years we'll be a dead church. Guaranteed. Why? Because there are no more Anglos that will be living here. Next. Second thing. Anyway,
Sorry.
That's when the training's coming up. There will be a cost, it'll be nominal. I just have to figure out what the materials are going to cost. It's probably going to be around $10 just for the materials. Go ahead. The crosses were in this booth beside me. We unpack a lot because we're both MSc missionaries, Mission Service Corps, which means we raise our own support. And they were talking to me about refugees. Did you know there's a refugee issue in our country? Do you know that the number one thing...
You know there's a refugee issue in the world.
Yeah, there is in the world. But the thing that really blew me away was I was on this corner spot. There was Open Arms Refugee Ministry here. There was us. There was the JARS people, the airplane people here. And we were able to look down the aisle. And there were probably 7 international ministries working with refugees there. And it was the number one place every young person stopped. 700 students signed up to do mission trips. 700 at this event. And the number one thing they were interested in was refugee work. It's not rocket scientists. I know some of you guys have approached me, some of you ESL folks approached me that you want to do this, and I had no clue. Randall, I had no clue until I started talking to people who were doing it. You know what we need to become? You want to back up one? Thank you. You got ahead of me. A welcoming church. We need to become a welcoming church. You know what a welcoming church does? Here's what happens. There's 2. The crosses were let me look up online and see what's in Philly. What are the refugees that are coming? What are the agencies that your church can work with? Most Catholic Social Services and Lutheran Social Services. They're the 2 main people that are bringing in refugees. And by the way, the number one people coming to Philly are Syria. Sorry. We'll get this down together by the end.
Yes,
anyway,
yeah.
Syrian refugees are the number one folks that are coming. And my first question to the crosses were, do you mean a Muslim? He goes, no, not necessarily. He said 2 out of every 3 that come are Christian. I said, well, what does a welcoming church do? He said, well, here's what happens. You gotta have a network. He said, can you get food? Well, yeah. Can you get used furniture and stuff donated? Yeah, I've had that. I get at least an offer of a couch a week, you know? He said, here's what a welcoming church does. The agency finds those people in an apartment. The welcoming church does 2 things. They pick them up at the airport, and all they have are the clothes on their back. And you help furnish their apartment. You get used furniture, dishware, food. And he said for the next 6 weeks of their existence in America, you love on that family as a church. You help them find work, help them get their papers set up, all the little nuances of helping them get established in our country. And he said, you have a window of 6 weeks to see them saved. And you know what happens? Many of them connect to church, many of them come to Christ. Because they have nobody. And that's what a welcoming church does. He said that, in essence, is refugee work. And he said, quite frankly, Chuck, I don't understand why every church in America doesn't do that. Because could you or could you not love on one family every 6 months? I'm like, yeah. He goes, God's moving in this area. He said, in North Carolina, we have had hundreds of Burmese come in, to the point where we're doing camps for these kids when they come into the country now. And these are 2 areas. The world is coming here. International students are coming here. We do the annual Widener Thanksgiving dinner with Grace Bible Fellowship. And we consistently give food out to 75 of them at the Thanksgiving dinner. And this is an area where God's moving. This is an area that we are involved. So if we focus, we're going to see fruit. We're going to see the kingdom expanding. Next one, Chris. Campus ministry. I had the privilege on Saturday and also on Friday. But Saturday, before I left, I spoke and did the morning devotional before the pregame at Widener University. Now, I got my time wrong. I'm notorious for that. And I showed up 40 minutes early in a very, very cold, air-conditioned room. So instead of sitting there and freezing, I decided to prayer walk the room. And I prayed over every seat, and there were 60 seats in the room. And the guys started coming in. Coach came in, put a box of Bibles down, by the way, which we donated a year ago. But guys were bringing their own Bibles. And by the time I started and shared the devotion, every seat in the room was taken. Plus 5 coaches. It's like, wow, these guys are hungry for truth. It didn't end there. Last year, 27 of those guys, we gave monthly food boxes to. My daughter, in the back, was Dad. She was with me this week. We picked up soup at Bonefish Grill. And we're getting about 25 pounds of soup frozen every single week from Bonefish, those veggies. And I made the stupid comment of, in front of my daughter, what, pray tell, should we be doing with this stuff? We're getting a lot of it. And my daughter Mary pointed out to me, why don't we do a community meal for all those football players every single week? And use that as a point of contact to give them their monthly food boxes. She goes, Dad, there's fruit there waiting to happen. There's an open door of ministry. She said, why can't our church become boosters of Widener football and love on these guys and bring them to Christ? We have 50 guys that could possibly show up for food once a week. Think about that as far as we're there, we're doing it, we're already present, let's focus on it and bring it home. There's another area of campus ministry. That's, by the way, that's our, there you are, Sarah. There's the international Thanksgiving dinner that we did with Grace Bible this year. It's about meeting needs. But it's also about, what's the next slide? Yeah, we do community meals and food boxes. And that's the idea of pressing in on that. By the way, I've already sent the letter to the coaches saying, what night of the week could we do it? Here's our, Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. That's the open nights of the church. Go ahead. We're also providing, now I love this. I know this is being recorded. Starbucks president has nationally said, butter on church. We don't want you conservatives consuming Starbucks coffee. Well, I just want you to know, Starbucks is sponsoring our food pantry. We're getting approximately 40 pounds of pastries a week from Starbucks, the bulk of which is going to Lagos. Now, how cool is it? We also bought the Starbucks coffee that they can brew. Now, the cool thing is, last year we were giving away free pizza to come to the Bible study. How much cooler is it to have the permission to use the Starbucks logo on your flyer, saying, come to Bible study and get a free cup of Starbucks coffee and goodies? Well, that's what God's doing. God's giving us that resource. Lastly, Friday night I spoke at Sophomore College to the InterVarsity. We have been supporting for the last 2 semesters Operation Sandwich. We have a group of gals who make about 100 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a week. They take the train, Swarthmore College gives them the SEPTA fare, and they go to Center City to Love Park, and they look for homeless people to pray for and to give food. The cool thing, they have led people to Christ in the park. Friday night, after I got done speaking, we're making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we're talking about, hey, Pastor Chuck, we got some people who said they're allergic to peanut butter. Can we get some ham and cheese? Can we get some drinks? We've been buying a case of water and taking with us, but I'm knowing 80 miles away is Amazing Grace Ministry, and I can get juice boxes there for free, so we're going to work on that. But here's the thing. Whatever I give them, they give away. Every week. They touch at least 100 lives a week. God is moving. And here's the thing. When it comes to campus ministry, it's about empowerment. While you're empowering young people, you're also discipling them. You're having godly conversations and speaking into their lives. And as a church, we have to be consistent. We have to press in and provide these young people with the resources. And that was the cool thing at Widener. Head coach gets up, he gives me a jersey. I got my own Widener coaching jersey now. And I discovered I'm part of the coaching staff. And this is what he told me. He goes, guys, I want you to know this is Pastor Chuck. He is an administrative resource for Widener football. And what does that mean, guys? That means you need something, he's our scrounger, go see him. You need food, see him. You need a dad to talk to, see him. Every guy took my card when they left. Listen, it's not about me, it's about God. It's about us as a congregation pressing you in these areas that God is doing. It's the third area. Good God. Do you know that we sponsor, I'm going to sit down for this. We sponsor 2 AA programs. Stepping Stones is one of them, and the Good Morning Club, Good Morning Group is the other. That typically, on Tuesday morning, Cedar Road is nothing but a parking lot, and our parking lot is full. We have 20 to 30 people here every single Tuesday morning, and we've been doing it for 3 years. They grew to the point so much that we are now doing Saturday morning at 8:30. Couple things. One, the folks that are coming to AA, some of which we're also helping them with food. But it's interesting, we're not helping them with food, we're helping their parents with food, their elderly parents. Every single fundraiser that I've done for the food pantry, half of my volunteers have been AA folks who have gladly volunteered. When it comes to doing work in the food pantry, a percentage of my workers are AA folks, many of which who don't know Christ. I'm starting to have God conversations with leaders. And you know what they're saying? Can we get more? 2 meetings a week aren't enough. Can we go deeper? One of the big things that I noticed at North Greenville when talking to the other missionaries is Celebrate Recovery. There's 4 or 5 type programs like that out there. You offer it as a Sunday school. What we would do a meet and eat, I would say. A meet and eat is a typical meeting where you provide breakfast. We have breakfast from Wawa. So we got the food, we got the juice, we got everything we need. And do a Bible study, go deeper. Just one more step. You realize we have 50 people in our building every week? What if 10 came to Christ? What if we consistently ministered more to college students? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the room today. What if we had another 10? International ministry. What if we pressed in both the ESL program and the refugee program, and we had 3 more families? We just did that. There wouldn't be enough seats that we have out in this room today to fill the place. You want church to grow? There it is. There's where God's moving. Guess what? We're already there. We are involved in these things, but we aren't focused enough to bring it home. Go to my last slide, please. I'm going to recap this. Where do we go from here? We as church members have got to choose where we're going to serve. I've been too nice, too sweet, too much of a teddy bear. I don't demand things. You know, one of the things I'm learning from God is I have to start as a pastor saying, we're doing this, show up. I'm ashamed that I announced several weeks ago that the fun fair was on Saturday in our community. And listen, we're all too busy. I know that. I know part of the problem is the Pope is coming next week, and every single organization under the sun decided this weekend they were going to do their thing, because next weekend they knew they weren't going to be able to. So I realized that. But the township reached out to us to do the fun fair, to just simply man a bouncy house for kids, staff it. And I couldn't get one single person to respond. That breaks my heart, because that's a missed opportunity. We can only go so many missed opportunities before people shut down and say, we're just not going to bother with those folks anymore. So we have to decide where we're going to serve and where we're going to put press in, even if it's only an hour a week. Now, this is an attitude that's prevalent in churches all across America, when most people say, my Jesus time is 1 hour on Sunday morning. I'm grateful for people that show up for that 1 hour on Sunday morning. But each and every one of us have to dig deeper within inside of ourselves and say, you know what? If this is where God is moving, can I give a half hour or 1 hour every other week to that? Be faithful and consistent, because if we are more consistent in those areas, we will see more fruit. So recapping, under the area of internationals, we are doing November 11th, 14th, excuse me. I'm tired of this. The 11th, 14th, the 14th we are doing the ESL training. And what I'd like to see come out of that is you guys who are taking the class and organize afterwards and talk about, okay, now how are we going to use it? This is your ministry. How are we going to do it? Second thing, I've already approached the coaching staff. We are going to do, if I have to do it by myself, a community meal. We're going to make soup. We're going to figure out how to do sandwiches. And we're going to love all these 50 guys. 50 guys. That's our goal. We're going to continue to support the outreach programs that the students are doing. The Trevor over at Swampmore, I told him, I said, whatever you need, man, call me. Because be careful saying that. Aaron back there, love you, man. You're like a son to me. And it rocks what you do. And you've got chutzpah. It's a Jewish word. It's a very interesting Jewish word. But you come to me and say, we're doing this. Can you give me X? That's what we need to be doing. helping empower students to do what God is showing them they need to do. I'd like to have some people approach me about the recovery program, about leading a Bible study. What we need to do is decide what kind of a curriculum we're going to offer. And then we need to meet with the AA leadership and say, some of you guys want to go deeper. This is what we're going to offer. You can go deeper. That's our 3 steps. Is that my last slide?
Mhm.
Okay. I don't mean to sound harsh today, but I'm tired, I'm broken, and I'm getting old. I want God to have his way with this place. I want God to explode. My whole desire, my whole motive for starting the Foundry is that we would have one church in our community that was thriving. We've uncovered the areas. We've pressed in on the areas. We need to bring it home. We need to just be consistent in pressing on those things. You see, Jesus said, Peter became one of the most dynamic evangelists in history. And you know why he became so dynamic? It's because he learned at a young age spiritually to have the courage to get out of the boat and that he could fail. You can fail. And it's okay. Get up and dust yourself off and press it again. As I shared to one group on Friday night, the most important thing that will ever matter to you when you get to the other side and meet Jesus is who did you take with you. Other than the shock and awe of actually being there yourself, who did we take with us? That's what matters to God. People matter to God. You matter to God. You're here, all of you are here for a reason. You know why you're here? It's because somebody stepped out of a boat at some point in time. Organist named Jimmy. Weirdest little guy I've ever met in my life. 36 years ago-ish. 7, 8, I don't know, I've lost track. But it was 1977, I was making a delivery to a church. And I could see he was stuttering, and he was trying to get the words out of his mouth to invite me to a music program. And he did. And I went. And they gave an altar call, and I got saved. And I found out later that he really struggled talking to people. I was one of the first people that he ever talked to about faith. But thank you, Jesus, that little guy had the courage to wear me down to go to that service because my life has never been the same. Every single one of you has somebody in your life, a mom, a dad, an uncle, an aunt, a granny, a friend in college, whatever, who got in your face and said, you need Jesus. That's how the kingdom's expanded. And you and I can't afford to not do that. Because there are people dying every second and dropping in their heart. This week, I want you to listen to that song, Oceans. It blew me away. That verse, trust without borders. That bridge section is the most powerful. That bridge section is the sum total of Matthew chapter 14. It is. We need to allow the Spirit of God to have his way with us, not only as a congregation, but as individuals. And when we give in to him and trust without borders, he will make his face shine upon us. He will move mountains. Let's pray. Father, this morning, I ask that you pour out fire from heaven. Ignite our hearts. Bring us together in unison as a congregation on whichever area that you show our people. Father, that 2 of these areas that we spoke about today, the congregation has brought to me. You have brought to me. Students have brought to me. Lost people have brought to me. And Lord, there's a reason, there's a consistency. And I pray, Lord, that each and every one of us would evaluate what part we can play, even if it's only an hour a month. Lord, move upon our hearts. Change us, that we could see change and transformation in our community. We praise you now in your son's name.